Hey everybody.
Sean and Kelly here, Price and Price Group of eXp Realty. So what are we talking about?
Today we're talking about how we determine the sales price of a home.
Yes.
So we're going to go into how it's not determined
Yes.
and then how it is.
All right, here we go. All right, so we're going to talk about how to determine the sales price of a home from a seller's perspective.
Yes.
And first thing we wanted to clarify is what is market value, okay? Because everybody gets market value and appraised value confused. So market value is technically the value or the price at which a seller is willing to sell a home and a buyer is willing to buy.
Right.
Okay, what it has nothing to do with is a list we're about to go through here.
Yeah.
And market value really has nothing to do with appraised value. If it's in a seller's market, like we've been in the last several years and are going to be in this year, then market value is typically higher than appraised value.
That's true.
And if it's a buyer's market, the other is true. Market value is quite often under appraised value.
Yes.
So,
Yes. All kinds of things. It's not even list price.
No. And that's why you have to have a good agent representing you as a buyer, and just so that you know what the actual market value of that property is going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So let's dive in. I like talking first about what it's not, to just dispel the I thought.
Yeah.
I thought. Let's get that right.
So what
start
not to
getting
do.
the right thinking for 2024.
Or to be positive, because we want to be positive for 2024.
I'm always
This
positive.
is what you do in order to fail at selling your house.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to work for everyone.
I don't know either.
Okay, so these are not strategies. Number one not strategy is the sales price is not the Zestimate.
Yes. The Zestimate, the Redfin estimate, the Realtor.com valuation.
The little postcards you get in the mail that says, hey, your home's worth this.
Yes.
Now, does it ever hit the mark? Absolutely.
Yeah,
Sometimes it hits the mark, but that's not like, but my postcard says that it should sell for this,
Yes.
and so your ideas are baloney.
And I will give you a great, just quick example.
Mm-hmm. We
We have some clients that bought a home for $890,000. They have completely remodeled this home, and it might be worth upwards of 1.6, 1.7, maybe even 1.8. But Zestimate still has it, or the Zestimate still in the 800s, because they don't know what's been done to the house. So,
that's true. And it can go the other way too, right?
Yep.
Someone could have moved in and there are some situations going on there and the value could have tanked. Zestimate doesn't know that. And how would they, right?
Yep.
It's not that they're a failure, it's just not how this is done.
Yep.
It's also not the seller's opinion.
Yes.
This is a tough one, okay? And I do want to dive into this just a tad,
Okay.
right? And hit on the part where when you're home shopping and you see these houses for sale and you're like, wait, what? That one's listed for $1.2 million when the other one's in the neighborhood and for the same price. Everything else I'm seeing online, it's like $875.
Yeah.
Wow, this must have like a whole other house under it, or it's
Yep.
it's unburied treasure, okay?
Yep.
And in a normal market, with all things being equal, you won't see very many of those because real estate agents, we're really not going to allow a seller to make such a serious misstep, right?
Yep.
But there are times in a market where we don't have enough houses out there for sale that we do kind of like do our best, but we will list a home when the seller is like, it's this or it's not going on the market. We're kind of like, maybe it will be a quick foot in the door for them to realize, a quick learning lesson for, look, no one is interested, and that'll speed the process because we really need houses on the market. So that's something I want to say.
And we've seen that. We've seen where a seller is like, I really want to get the 1.2 for a $900,000 house. And we explain to them, like, if we took that listing, we would say to you, if you want to try it, let's try it. But this is the criteria. Number of showings, number of offers after showings, and so on. And once we hit that criteria, we do a significant price drop. If they will, now Kelly and I have done this, we've worked with several sellers on this. If they say, no, I am not going to come down, this is the only price I take, we will walk away from that listing because it will not sell at this.
Right. And this is the one where the realtors call, or we call the realtors in such a situation, okay, what is going on? And usually the answer is seller. And we say, enough said.
Understood.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll go see it.
All right, so it's not seller's opinion.
That.
Yeah.
It is also not, kind of piggybacking on that, what the seller needs to get out of it.
Yeah.
We have a really good example.
Yeah, so a seller might say to themselves, they might say, the next house I'm going to buy, I need to have $300,000 to put towards it, so I have to get $300,000 out of this house. But let's say that was that $1.2 million house that's not going to sell at $1.2 million. So
Right.
what you need to get out of it does not necessarily determine the price that a buyer is willing to pay.
And the other thing too that we've seen happen is we bought it for this amount, we put this much money into renovations. Maybe the renovations weren't the best idea, or
not, they want return on investment.
Right,
renovations.
they were kind of ill-advised or not advised,
Yes.
and so then they're like, but I've put all this money into it, so it's worth this, and that doesn't always work out, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
So a lesson there is, before you go and think you're getting the house ready for sale and you want to do a bunch of renovations, make sure you give us a call, because we can tell you what you should do to get a return for your investment, what's not worth doing, and what may actually end up costing you money.
Yeah. And this one came across my desk from the Department of Redundancies a little bit. It was the break-even number.
Yes.
So it's kind of the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
pretty much. Yeah.
That's
okay.
not a separate
Ignore that
topic.
one. All right.
Unless your mind sees a break-even number as something different than what we just said.
Yep.
A break-even number as well.
Yep. We've already covered that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Yes.
Yeah. Tell.
My neighbor's house sold for. I'll give you an example.
Do it, Sean.
I will give you an example.
What is your example? Yes. I can't wait.
I drew a blank.
I'm so happy it happened to you. Yes. 2024 is going to be my year where my brain stays intact and it doesn't miss a beat and yours does. Ha ha, everybody. Okay.
Do we know that because it started off so bad?
Yeah, because you.
Anyway, we're going to end that side.
I was about to go into it.
Okay,
it's going to come when you least expect it.
Yeah, I know it's coming. So we do hear this quite often from a seller. We will ask them, what's your opinion on what you think the price of the house will sell for? They say, well, my neighbor's house just sold for blank. And when you get down to it and you look at what the neighbor's house is 25% bigger. It's on a double-sized lot. It's newer. It's been renovated. It's whatever it is. The house is determined by houses that are the value is determined by houses that are similar, not just because it's your neighbor.
Definitely your neighbor is going to be an excellent comp.
Yeah.
Really, really excellent, but it's not the only factor in determining the price.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think we've hit most of the most.
I want to hit a neighbor perspective real quick.
Okay.
So that's going from the perspective of my neighbor's house sold for this much, and so my house is worth this. Well, if you think about it, we have situations where, especially when you get into Maryland and different areas, where counties will require new housing developments to have single-family homes. They have to have a certain number of townhouses. And in Maryland, Montgomery County, not only do they have to have a certain number of townhouses, they also have to have a certain number of Maryland Housing Authority subsidized houses.
Right.
Those townhouses, compared to, let's say we have a $1.8 million house that's selling, and then you have a townhouse that's market value is maybe $900,000, but is selling for $500,000 because it's subsidized. That's not a like comparison. So you want to be thankful for the fact that just because your neighbor's house sold for this much, it doesn't necessarily mean that you want comparable houses. Yes, because it can go the other way as well.
Okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I was thinking of, let's take our neighborhood, for example, where the houses were built in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Enough time has gone by, and even though I know our floor plan is a mirror image of one of our neighbors, we have the exact same floor plan, but the houses have been here so long, they've been renovated so many different times that the square footage may have been the same. I know theirs is a little bit bigger because they did something different than we did on the mudroom.
They
there's
extended
an
a
extension
mudroom
and people
into a garage, and
people add. So that's also something to take into consideration.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
So let's go into the yes strategies now.
Yeah. So this is what it actually is. Okay. So before we do this, we want to get into a buyer's mindset. Okay. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and hopefully you answer them right, because we have not practiced this.
Okay.
All right. Let's say you want a computer. You're buying a computer.
Okay.
And
it's not like me, but sure.
I know. That's
I want a computer.
Let's say you're buying a computer.
Okay.
And this computer has everything you need. Okay.
That's easy.
For $1,000. Okay.
Okay.
But I know you. You're a price shopper.
Yeah,
you're going
that's
to look
true.
around and you're going to start
That's true.
comparing, just like buyers for houses are going
Yeah.
to compare.
Yeah.
And you go to another store or another website and you see the exact same computer,
Yeah.
but it's got double the memory and it's $1,000. Which
Okay.
one are you going to buy?
The double in memory for $1,000.
Exactly. Okay. So now let's go back to the same analogy. You got this
Okay.
computer for 1,000. That exact same computer that has double the memory that you don't really need is now $1,500. Which one are you going to buy?
The one for $1,000.
Right. So that's how buyers of houses look at properties. They're looking for the most value for the least amount of money, and value is determined by what they want, what they need, and what actually has market value.
Good job.
Yeah, so you have to be aware that when you're going into the
Yeah.
market with your house has now become a product. It's no longer your home.
Yeah.
It is a product, and it is compared against other products. The average buyer looks at about 9 houses before they buy. So
Yes.
you have to keep that in mind. So the
And
first,
you are not all there. It's not like there's always a unicorn buyer who shares exactly the taste that you have, and they're gonna come in and appreciate this wackadoodle thing you did. Trust me, I do wackadoodle things, right? But you tame it down,
make it
set it
appeal
up,
to the masses.
and you present your wares to everyone,
Yes.
not just the golden unicorn. Your like kindred
Yeah.
spirits. It's
We've had
very
one
rare.
of those golden unicorns in all of our transactions
Yeah.
over the last 4 years, and it was, she knew she was paying above price, but we have had hundreds
Yeah.
of non-unicorns.
But she had sparkly, wonderful
Yes.
dust in her eyes, and she's happy. Even whenever
Yeah.
we give her new property price
Valuation.
analysis, she's like, yeah, I know it's going to take some years. Everyone else's, it's like, hey, great news.
Yeah,
It's-
great news.
It's up. With hers, it's like, you're still not quite there. She's like, yeah, it's fine.
I just really like it. So that does not happen often. So do not
Yeah.
depend on that unless you want to sit on the market for a year and a half and probably never find them. Anyway,
Even in this
okay.
market. Okay.
All right. So what's,
It is dependent on active
Yes.
properties.
so that's the competition.
Yes.
Yeah. And keep in mind too, okay, so step number 1 is we have to look at the active properties and see who you're going to be competing against, because you want to position yourself appropriately. You don't want to be the highest priced property in the market against
That's
other.
not to say that it won't, at the end of the
Escalate.
day, escalate and
Yes.
people will bid up. They will bid up and pay the most for the best property, but
That's-
it doesn't mean that you want to start there.
That's a good point. So the
Thank you.
goal of, you have three things that affect the final sales price of your home.
Maybe
Or
more, maybe less.
Maybe less, or maybe more, maybe less. The first thing is your property's location. Second thing is the property's condition. Third thing is property's price. Okay, if the property's not selling, you can change price or condition. You have to determine which one. Okay,
Mhm.
so your price. We're talking about price as the primary marketing point in this video. So if you put your price against another house that's the exact same house and yours is $50,000 higher, you're going to drive traffic to this house and help that house sell. You're also going to decrease your exposure. If you put your house here, this house is going to help you sell, and you're going to increase in exposure, create that bidding war, and probably go above this and get
Yeah.
to the point that what
And
the
this is-
market value is.
Right. This is where we get into the nuance of list price versus actual sales price,
Yeah.
right? Sales price is the selling price that we're talking about both, right?
Well, we're talking about the list price.
List
or-
price
you-
and then what it ends up selling for.
That's-
There is a nuance there that we can.
And that's a really good point, because the closer you price to the final sales price, the quicker the house is going to sell. And if it's a property in this market sits on the market for more than 14 to 21 days, buyers start thinking there's something wrong, and you're start getting lowball offers. All right, yes, strategy number 2.
Okay, it's going to be appraised value and property sold.
Yeah, so recent sales, and the reason this is important, because a property has to sell 3 times. It has to sell when the buyer writes the contract, it has to sell when the inspection occurs,
And
and
when the
the appraiser
appraiser
comes
comes
in.
out.
So you,
More often than not, right? I mean,
Yes.
if it's a cash offer, it's not contingent on
Yep.
appraisal, or if somebody, there are all a few ifs there, but generally speaking,
it has to
yes.
appraise. And here's
Yeah.
the thing, you bring up a good point. If there's not an appraisal contingency, well, how do you get rid of appraisal contingencies? You have competition. How do you have competition? You price it appropriately so that the other houses are helping your house sell. You get multiple offers, buyers start waiving contingencies, and you end up.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed when there's a house that goes on the market in your neighborhood or very close to you, and you start getting calls or letters from realtors and they're like, hey, let's get you on the market? It's because hey, this is the time to sell. When you have someone right here, this is the time when you're going to really increase the probability of you getting a higher price for your property. So that's why that happens.
Yep, especially if there are multiple offers on that property. That means there are buyers that are right there ready and willing.
They're right there. If they're there, they're there.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
So in review,
Yep.
okay, the two strategies that do matter that you do need to look at are the active properties on the market. Oh, and on the active properties, we forgot to mention this. Active prices are fantasy land. They haven't sold yet. That's why the ones that have sold are important. That one actually says there was a buyer that was willing to buy at that price and a seller that was willing to sell. These properties up here that are active may or may not sell at that price point.
Right.
So you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at them.
Yeah, that's where we were talking about list price versus actual sales price.
Yep.
Those are different things.
And that's where we've seen over the last, year-ish, a lot of people keep saying prices are coming down, prices are coming down. It's like, no, list prices have been priced too high, so they're coming down to what the actual market value was, but the actual market value is increasing.
Yeah, and fair, now that we have the interest rates coming down, then we've got a situation where, we just had a client, they went to see a place, it'd been on the market over 130 days, no offers at all. Great, she's ready to write an offer, she's gotten her pre-approval, we're sitting down, you called the agent and he said, I don't know what happened. It'd been on the market all this time, nothing moving, no interest at all. And then today I've had 3 other calls like yours and they ratified another contract. They were taking it off that morning.
A little bit of a caveat on that. He said there was no interest at all simply because he hadn't received any offers because this property had nuances, but he had 130 showings. So over that 136 days, they had 130 showings, but
interest.
That's right. Because it doesn't matter how many showings you have until somebody
It doesn't matter how many
comes
showings.
to the money. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's it. So those are the factors we have to pay attention to: active properties and recently sold. The non-factors
the biggest non-factors that you really need to guard yourself against is but I think it's worth for whatever reasons you have, but Zestimate says.
Yes, that's it.
So those are the two. If you can just wrap your head, Zestimates are great guides, but it's just a guide. Wrap your head around that and work with someone, ding, 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 who really knows your market and what's going on, and you will be good to go.